Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah. How did you do that?
My computer is better.
Did you see that? Yeah, it was a
It's
magic
much better,
switch.
guys. Seriously, way clearer.
Her computer is like amazing in terms of the
The
camera.
MacBook Air, yeah.
I
It's
think
just the built-in camera.
it might just be the Nikki effect. Everything looks more beautiful when Nikki's here.
Oh, shucks.
Yeah. Well, I think we're live.
We
We're
are.
live. We're actually live.
You're a view from behind the scenes.
Yeah. So welcome everybody to our weekly team hangout here, Team Have It All. I'm here with the lovely Nikki Magdalena and also Miss Sandy Lévêque, who is tuning in from Portugal tonight, and she's really the person that I want to give the most time, attention, and energy to tonight because she's actually just gone through what we could tell just from afar, even before we tapped into, even before I got to talk to her, just like a really transformational weekend.
Yeah.
Spending time with the largest international team inside of our company, and that is in Portugal, right? And I just can't wait to hear what she has to share because she got to experience what it's like to be part of just a very, I won't say intense team culture, but a very closely knit team culture that's doing really big things that most people don't even realize are going on. She's going to talk to you tonight about how there's folks over there that you don't even know their names. Don't even know their names, and they're earning, five figures. They got like people upon people upon people earning 5 figures a month, 6 figures a month. I think you even mentioned Sandy. And anyway, I don't know what else to say about it before turning it over. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so I have to say that the title, Mission Possible, How to Hit 10K in 90 Days, that's a title that you came up with, Sandy, and I just feel like that's actually important to mention because I know that you wouldn't create a headline like that unless you felt confident that you could deliver that kind of information. And so I know that you got some really huge, like, behind the scenes, secret, juicy kind of stuff that's going to not only empower people on our team, empower everybody on the team, but also inspire people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just have the feeling that this call today is a lot about inspiration. I have some questions that I'm dying to ask you. I'm like, I gotta ask for this and this. Okay, so hopefully I remember those things. But that's pretty much what I wanted to say before handing it off to you. I know that there's something that's live streaming through you. I actually was on the I was listening to like Oprah. I've been listening to Oprah radio lately in our Sirius satellite radio in our car, and there was a woman on there who's like, I don't know what to call when you're in like you're getting a download. Channeling is such a like spiritualized word that oftentimes has weird connotations to it. And then Oprah's like, I got it. It is God is live streaming through you, and the guy was like, that is so modern, Oprah, and they were just like laughing about it. So it just now when I hear the word live stream, I have a whole different like addition to it. So I know that you're getting a live stream, whether it's God or universe or just the infinite being that is Sandy. So I want to just hand it off to you from that.
Yeah, like what can people expect from what you're about to deliver, Sandy? Let us know. And then hey, if you're in the comments below hanging out, let us know. Put your stuff down there. Let us know you're here, and maybe we'll take some questions and stuff as we go along. But I know that Sandy has some cool stuff planned for you, and the reason we chose her, like Nikki said, to come out tonight was I think she probably hasn't slept much because she's so dang excited, and she just has some really good content, some really good stuff to give you guys. So
and
pay close attention.
She's up late for you.
Yeah, it's like 2 a.m. in Portugal at least, right?
Yeah.
Or 1 or something.
Yeah, it's 1 a.m. So
yeah,
it's like time doesn't. I'm going to talk about this, but I'm in a really strange space where when you have so much change and transformation inside that normal life doesn't really feel the same anymore. It's 1 a.m., but it could be 2 p.m. I don't feel tired. And basically what people can expect to get out of this. I was thinking about this earlier before coming on. I was like, okay, how can I make sure that tell me if it's freezing, guys, or if it
it's good.
It's okay? Okay, cool.
All good.
I was thinking, how can I get across what I experienced, which has truly been one of the most transformative weekends I've ever had. And I say that having had a lot of transformative weekends. I was thinking, how can I get this across to people who weren't there in the room with me so that they can still have a huge transformation, like some kind of fire to be lit inside, and actually a scientific plan to go out and start creating results like the Portuguese. Because I went to the event, I actually took two metro trains, which is like a subway, a bus, and a taxi to get there because it was right across the other side of the country. And I have to be honest, I didn't quite know what to expect. I thought it would be quite a small meeting. I was quite excited, but I wasn't like anticipating. I didn't really know what to expect, and sometimes that can be a great thing because you have no expectations, and something can just come along and completely, it felt like my world and the way I saw the internet, making money, how much money it's possible to make, what you have to do to make that money. Everything I believed about that has literally just gone, and I saw so many success stories of all kinds at so many different levels. So many, and I spoke to so many people who are having success that I could feel these weird feelings I'd been having and doubts that we all have with anything that we do, just kind of going away, like going out of my universe. And I deliberately said 10K in 90 days because a lot of the top leaders in the Portuguese team, this is actually what they train their new members on, how to hit 10K in your first 90 days. And they're so confident about that a massively high proportion of people that come into their team do hit that. I've never met a team with so much duplication, like in the whole time I've been on the internet. And so when they say, I've got something in my throat. Excuse me, just having some tea now. So when I say 10K in 90 days, I'm actually going to share with you watching the scientific approach that they take to what they do. Oh my gosh, this is interesting. Excuse me 1 second, I literally have a frog in my throat.
Are you sure it's not a cat? Because sometimes I get like cats in my throat too.
Oh, I just muted myself because I was making so many weird noises. Yeah, exactly, Nikki. It's Gollum here calling in from Portugal.
That's hilarious.
And I just met so many people that did hit 10K in their first 3 months that when I was thinking what to call this hangout, that just felt like the natural choice because it truly, to me, feels like that is not such a big thing. Like for me personally, that seemed like the impossible goal, which is also why I chose the title Mission Impossible, because if you've not had a lot of money in your life, or you've had a love-hate relationship with money, and you've started to have money, but then something happens and it goes away, then actually creating a large amount of money, and to be honest, now, after having spent 2 days with the Portuguese team, 10K is not actually one of their big targets. It's almost like a baby target. Wow. Because their target is really 1K a day, $1,000 a day, and I'm talking about money. So I should say, for anyone watching who isn't part of our team yet, the results I'm talking about aren't typical. You can see there's an income disclosure at the bottom of this page, but what I experienced really was a group of people that were collectively choosing not to be typical, and I'm so inspired by that because I truly believe that, the saying, where two or more are gathered, is way more powerful than people think. It's not just a nice quote or a nice saying. It's actually true. When you're surrounded by people who are doing things that you previously thought were not possible, it melts your beliefs and it melts all the reasons why you didn't think that was possible, and you come out looking at the world differently, and the world is really different. And I've been so spacey after going to this event that I haven't even I couldn't even go on Facebook because I would go on Facebook and I just didn't know what to say because I had to, it's like trying to describe a huge, you know, if you saw a huge UFO come through the planet and then you had to go and explain that to someone who didn't even know what a UFO is, or, you know, it just felt really strange to go on Facebook and to do the things that I normally do. But obviously, you can't stay like that forever. But like, I just felt the need to sort of just take time to be with this change,
Yes.
let it kind of sit in my world and let my world expand even more, so that I could really get the most out of it.
Well, I appreciate you being here in that sense, Sandy, because I totally get what you're saying, and I know a lot of people who are listening right now from our team, they get that too, because we've got so many people that are into transformation and have gone through huge changes in their lives. And there is this sort of hard to explain element. A lot of it right now is, you know, there's an energetic transferring going on as you're speaking. That's what I feel. And I appreciate that you would come out and, you know, you could just keep it for yourself. And I do get there's a time and place to do that, you know, to sort of integrate a change. So I just appreciate that you are coming out to share that expansion in a way that doesn't like dilute it, because I know that sometimes it is, you know, when you try to put it on Facebook, you start to feel this contraction because it's like oh, it just feels like I'm like almost diluting the energy and I haven't integrated it yet, and you're still in the process. It sounds like it's still so very fresh and still integrating. But I know that there's going to be something really powerful here for the people who are here, for all of us, really, you know. And you know, I'm here to receive too, because I can feel the thunder. The thunder is sort of, you know, huge. Like, you know, the Portuguese have been quite the talk of the town, you know, when it comes to just us hearing about it. But the thing is that, you know, there is the sort of, you can call it the language barrier. You know what I mean? Like they're kind of like this pod over on this island, you know. Yeah. And we don't have the same access to them, so I feel like you're like this insider. You know, you went and you saw. You went and saw. Yeah. Back sharing with all of us. So I had a question, and I might almost do Oprah style, where I know that we're going to be in the flow and talking. You might be talking, and if I interrupt you, just know that I don't mean to like interrupt you. It's because I'm like, I have this question, and if I don't stop you right now, I'm going to forget it. And I'm getting downloaded with maybe like the questions and the things that other people are wondering too. So
you're gonna channel Oprah.
I'm gonna channel Oprah because she's so.
I live stream God. You channel Oprah.
Yeah, you channel, which is pretty much synonymous. Like really, when you think about it.
Exactly. AKA.
God is infinite abundance. Oprah has infinite abundance. So I mean. She's got her own network, so, and I've been really listening to her interview style, and she'll just like stop the person and be like, okay, so let me ask this question, but she does it in a way that's not like, oh, I'm not listening, or I'm not, you know how sometimes people like stop you because they're just thinking about what they're gonna say while you're talking, but it creates a cool flow. So I don't know if I can say, I mean, I'm gonna do my best to.
So what's your question, Nikki?
So what's my question? Okay.
That was Oprah. That was Oprah just.
Yeah,
so Nikki, what's your question?
No, Abram, that wasn't.
Well, that wasn't
her.
Oprah?
That was Abram.
That was Abram.
Okay.
Oh shit.
So in the beginning, you talked about having your doubt removed by being around all of these people in this energy. So I'm curious, in the context of you being there and having this transformation, what do you think actually creates the doubt? So as maybe there's, you know, a downswing in a company, or, you know, whatever is going on externally, what do you think actually like creates doubt, or would have people doubting, you know, them in their business, and how can they change that right now?
Yeah, I'm actually really glad you asked that, because I was thinking about this, why suddenly this transformation was so big. And the way I see it, and this is just my view, is that sometimes doubt can be when you just don't really trust in yourself yet to do something. But what I've been experiencing recently, it wasn't that kind of doubt, because I've been I've been committed to what I'm doing now for nearly 2 years. I know with total clarity that I will get to where I want to go and that I'm on the way. So I've always known I could do it. But what I think also doubt is actually almost like people want to bring something else down. So they talk about things in a negative way. And because we're all connected and we're all one, when people are talking about something negatively and you're closely connected to that thing that's being discussed, you're aware of it. Even if you don't, it's not like you hear, like someone calling you up saying, oh, da 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 da, but you just kind of have this weird feeling. And I was really aware of that going on, to be honest, and I was aware of it because it felt different. I could feel it wasn't my own internal doubts. It felt like almost like an implant, like someone sending out arrows with little, like in the medieval times. I'm reading a lot of medieval literature at the moment. They used to put out bows and arrows and spear people. I think energetically we can do that too. You can spear people with some kind of belief about something.
The image that I get, I'm just going to interject really quick. As you're speaking, the image that I'm seeing is also just another, because I think there's different metaphors that could work for people to really get like an understanding of this. Is like it would be like having, occasionally you see an airplane in the sky, right? Now imagine like you have like 100 airplanes flying over your house and they have loudspeakers. And it's like everything above you feels like all these different voices that are negative. That's just, I've never seen that image before, but for some reason I got like that as a
That's a perfect description of it. And it's a strange place to be, because even if you're aware that that's going on, it's hard to sort of find your way out. It felt like and it was really strange. It starts to eat you from the inside because it's just there all the time. And what was so interesting in Portugal, where I was at this event, is how quickly that just disappeared.
Right.
And the way it went so quickly, and the way it just seemed laughable when I was there. And now, like, it's just I can't even believe that I allowed myself to be sucked into that. That it's completely gone. I can just see how not true it is, because I saw so many people having success with the company that we're part of, with Empower Network. I'm not just talking about a few top-level leaders. I'm talking about young couples that had never done anything on the internet a year ago, even 6 months ago. I'm talking about a guy who was in the Marines and got capsized on a boat, spent 24 hours wondering if he was going to survive because his boat was capsized, and decided to learn internet marketing so that he wouldn't have to work on the sea anymore.
Right.
And him and his wife, within 7 months, now making over $30,000 a month. I'm talking about people like a former disc jockey, like a DJ, has made nearly $500,000.
Wow.
They asked one of the leaders, they asked him, I can't even remember the context of why, but all I remember is this moment, I just literally, my jaw went like this, because I remember sitting there listening, and they said to him, how many people in your downline are making over $10,000 a month? And 5 people put up their hand, and the speaker at the stage, bearing in mind, having 5 people in your direct downline making over 10K a month is a pretty good result, right? I think anyone would be happy with that. But the guy on the stage, just to give you an example of how much success is in this team, the guy on the stage kind of looked a bit disappointed and said, oh, I thought it was more. And he said, well, how much in your non-direct downline, like not just your front line, in your whole downline? And then literally about 13 people, possibly even more, I didn't have time to count them all because that was that many, and I was in so much shock, put up their hands, making over $10,000 a month in one man's downline. And he's just one of their leaders. And so I saw so many things like that, and that was just one of the moments that stood out. That I just started to see how I'd made some certain things a huge mountain in my mind. Like I had to climb Everest to claim the prize. And I started to realize, oh my goodness, you know, for these people, my Everest is just like a little step. And when they come into Empower, they have this, it's just this expectation that if people learn a few simple things, and what they do is actually very simple, and I'm going to share the science of what they do in this hangout. They have a really kind of scientific approach to it. So when I was there, everyone was asking me, you know, how many leads a day are you getting? How many leads do you need to get a member? How many members do you need to get an all-in? And I had to sort of say, oh, I just don't have that kind of approach to it.
Wow, that's a huge. I think that could be a huge breakthrough for people there, and I want you to elaborate on that. But there are a couple other things that I wanted to just, before we move on from this part. Okay, I want to know. So, you know, you went to Portugal and all those voices went away, and it was like the sky had cleared. There were no more negative loudspeakers, and with, you know. Yeah. So I know there's some people who are going to think, but I can't go to Portugal right now to hang out with the Portuguese. What can I do internally or externally? Because you changed your environment. You know, that's kind of how I see it, is you were surrounded, all the airplanes were in there, loudspeakers. You're like, I'm getting out of here. I'm going to go somewhere else where the field is clear and they have a totally different radio station going on.
Yeah.
So,
that's beautiful, writing it.
Yeah. So how can somebody who's not, I mean, hey, I will not underestimate people absorbing the power and the energy from you right now. Like what you're willing to offer right now, I think is already a huge facilitation for people who are willing to receive it. And I want to know from your perspective, what can people be or do different that would allow them to let go of that doubt? And is it like you can tell the airplanes to go away? Is that something you can even control? What can they do?
Yeah, I love that. Because I was thinking, there's a few things practical things people can do. The first thing that came to my mind is, and I've been doing this today and since I got back, is I started to unfollow all the people where some of these voices were coming from that I had kind of known, but I hadn't really done anything about it. I had started to, but I really, really thoroughly today went through my Facebook, because I think Facebook has more power sometimes than people realize.
Sure.
You know, it's exactly what you're talking about, Nikki, with these voices coming over your head. And if your newsfeed is full of people who might not be saying outright, you know, this is so bad, but what you have to look at is really see the energy behind things. And in fact, Abram, I saw you write this on someone's wall, and it was such a great description of it. It was like, sometimes when people start something else, they've left Empower, they've left something, they talk about the new thing they're doing, and the energy of it is, I'm so right, you're so wrong. You know, I saw you write that somewhere, and I thought, oh my God, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
And when you keep seeing that over and over, it just starts to make you feel like, well, maybe I am doing something wrong by being here. Maybe this is bad. Maybe this doesn't help people. Maybe blah, 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 you know, all these stupid voices. And so the first thing I would do is to unfollow anything that's got that kind of energy to it, any influences like that. You don't have to, you can even unfriend and block people. I just started to unfollow some. I have actually blocked a couple of people. And something else I would do is listen more closely to your gut. When there's been certain moments when I've opened emails that I knew I shouldn't open. I just had that curiosity, you know. And then afterwards I would feel so crap for like 2 hours. Yeah. Or I'd click see more on a post and I knew I shouldn't, but I just had to. And now I'm just like, no, I'm not going there, because I value myself and I value what I'm doing, and I'm not going to put it's like going in to be beaten up energetically. So,
Sandy, why do you think people do that? Is it human nature? Is it like, I could say us as a collective. become curious about the negative and the drama and the intrigue. Like what has us drawn to that, and then how can somebody change that? Because I almost feel like it could be an addiction in a way. Like, what is it? Because you're saying I value myself. So are they doing it? Are we doing it because we don't value ourselves enough and what we're creating enough? And or maybe is it something else? And if so, how can somebody really change that? Like, just kind of go, you know what? That's it. I'm not going to, tap into this negative stuff. Like, so and so is having a rant today, and that kind of thing.
It's sort of. Is it like when you just have like a really big meal and you ate more than maybe you probably should have, and then they bring out dessert and it looks really yummy, and you're like, okay, I'll do it, and then you feel like shit when you're done.
Yeah.
Or it's like when you have a bad feeling about getting on the airplane and then it crashes.
Oh my lord.
I think also actually there's some kind of enticement to it. Like I definitely feel that's part of it. That when a group of people, and I'm talking about what we're doing on the internet. This could apply to anything. But when a group of people have a clear agenda about something, and part of that agenda involves putting something else down, whatever they write, and you see this in politics as well, whatever they write or say, it has this kind of magnetic, almost like it's trying to pull in the people that it's bringing down or that it's criticizing. It's trying to pull them in to say, look, this is what I've said about you, or look, this is what I think about you. And I became really aware of that. And today I was going through my emails and I was like, I am not going to be sucked into your game or like sucked into that. It's almost like someone who has this pile of poo and they put like this icing on the top and they're like, oh, look at my nice icing. Look at this beautiful cake. You'll love it. It's really great. Really. Open it and read it.
And then you take a bite, and then they go, haha, eat shit, motherfucker.
Exactly. And so today I was like, I am not eating anyone's shit anymore.
So good. So brilliant. So, and what I just got as you were speaking to, Sandy, is it's like, so they're creating this enticement with the icing on top of the poo. I'm saying this shit about this person, that company, whatever, trying to insert doubt. And it's like by pulling that person in, like for you felt pulled in by other people's points of views and their doubts and all the implanting. It's like you're feeding them, and you're feeding that machine of that group energy that's like to create a momentum that's kind of based on a lower vibration. So
exactly.
And it's power. It's like creating power and feeding your power into that. So now they've taken your energy, scooped it up, and they're using to create something bigger. But that's different than functioning from like the totality of you, which is more about, we've talked about power versus, there's power versus force, but I like to say power versus potency. So it's like, being more like you don't have to put somebody down in order to move up. And that to me is empowerment, more of a real true sense of power, rather than this kind of false power that, is based on what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. And I think another piece of the puzzle to get rid of those airplanes shouting out the stuff is to just get angry, which is potency, just to get kind of, even if you weren't in Portugal, even if you weren't at the event. And to be honest, when you asked me to do this hangout, one of the things I thought was, oh, cool, because then I'll have this energy on video, and I'll be able to go back and watch it if I ever need to. Like, even if you weren't in that room with me, you can ask. We're all connected, and you guys watching, you can ask, okay, can I have some of the energy that Sandy's talking about? If you're feeling like I was feeling, if you're having any of those doubts, any of that kind of stuff going on, ask to sense that energy, and you will sense it. And then just have this kind of, maybe you need to go outside and do it, or go to a quiet place where you can be loud, and just be like, fuck it, like I am not I'm not going to listen to that anymore. And this is changing now, and just get angry. You know, people say it's actually not being angry; it's just being potent. But just getting some kind of momentum so that you can just shift the energy. Because I also did that in Portugal. It wasn't just me sort of sitting there passively taking in information and energy. I was going for walks on the beach after the event had finished and during the event, and just kind of, you know, looking up to the sky and saying, okay, I have to get myself into a new space as well. And so it was like a combination of the two things. And the other thing I forgot to mention was I would also deliberately seek out and follow as many people as you can in Empower Network having success. Because the cool thing is there are so many of them. And sometimes it's easy not to really follow them. And you can click get notifications on Facebook. And I mean, I've done that already, but I realized I'd sort of stagnated a bit with it. And I've just added a ton of the Portuguese people. I mean, I don't speak Portuguese, and probably not many people watching this do either. But you'll just get the energy, you know. You could just add a few of the top leaders. I can recommend, like, Silvio, the guy who started the Portuguese team, and Tatiana Thomas are two other leaders. I mean, there's a whole lot of people. And, you know, and I don't want to make it sound like they're the only team having success, because they're not. You know, on our team we're having success, on many other teams as well. I'm just talking about an environment which was special, because what is quite unique is how much duplication there is.
Yeah.
In that team.
So I would love to get to the how for that. I just want to pause and take a moment and just ask anybody right now on our team or on a different team, or you just got an email and you're here. Let us know if you're having any aha moments with this so far already. I'm sure that there are some already. We would just love to know about them, because your feedback is important to us. And as you bring your voice, you know, that is a contribution and a gift. And we receive that and we're able to deliver more. So by getting your feedback, it kind of helps us to choose future topics. It may even help in the direction of where we go with this hangout and how much more we can deliver. So yeah, Sandy, I'm excited to just kind of, I mean, I have some questions that I actually wrote down, but I'm trying to see if this would be good to ask now. Or okay, here's what I want to.
I have a question.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I think it would sort of like wrap this in a bow.
Yeah.
Just because I just love how we've talked about, like, really, like, what, you know, the kind of stuff that was getting in your way, Sandy, and I think gets in the way for a lot of people is like some of that doubt that creeps in. And so now you've also given some tactical ways to do it, which is really brilliant. So what I wanted to do was, like, find out from you, how are you feeling now that you've done these specific things to eliminate the doubt? Like, what can people expect when they actually do this stuff, both, like, physically, energetically, emotionally, like, however you want to address that? I'd just like to know, like, what you've really gotten out of it.
Yeah, well, one of the biggest things for me has been, I just feel really good about what I'm doing, because one of the things that was giving me doubt was, well, if I'm not sure that this works, do I really want to bring people into it? You know, if you care about people, you don't necessarily feel good doing something that you're not totally sure about. And I've been completely sure about what we do in Empower Network for a long time. And so it was strange to be feeling like that. And being in Portugal, you know, I just got a huge smile even just remembering it. I remember sitting in the room and thinking, oh my goodness, you know, I need to get more people to know about this and more people to really get a sense that they can do this, because this has changed so many of these people's lives. You know, I've met so many different people, teachers, accountants, people that were in the army, people that were, you know, working in a call center and couldn't even go to the toilet when they wanted, that are now working from home, making 5-figure months with barely any kind of experience, you know. And I just felt like I really got this strong sense of how I could have a team of having, you know, like now I can visualize it. having a team where when people say, Sandy, how many people making over 10K a month have you got in your team, that I can have 15 to 20 people put their hands up. And I started to really think about that and how I'd feel about that. And it just really excites me. And so now I have this kind of, I feel like, you know, if you've seen Braveheart with Mel Gibson, when he's like, freedom! And like the big beard, you know, I don't have a beard, but I don't have a horse. I have a cocker spaniel. But I literally feel like shouting out freedom and I've just got so much clarity about how I market and what people need to hear. And one of the big breakthroughs I had was that I realized I'd been marketing in a way that I wanted to market rather than really speaking to what people need to hear, you know, what people are struggling with, what really makes people take action on things. And that was a huge breakthrough to have, because I've been sort of been aware of it and people have been bringing my attention to it, including you, Abram, as well.
Share. I mean, I think we've got. I know from the way we've promoted this hangout, it's mostly our team. I should say the team, and you know, I consider you, you know, a leader here, and I'm wondering, you know, so it's not like you have to go into like this whole training thing, but I'm curious if you would be willing to be specific about that. Like, what were you specifically marketing before that was what you wanted, and there was a disconnect, and what will you specifically market more now that you've had that realization?
Yeah, well, it's so clear in my mind. You know, before I was marketing. Well, here's what I realized. You know, I had a long background in activism and campaigning, and I realized that I was trying to sort of bring that to what I was doing with Empower, and I was talking in my marketing about changing the world and overcoming low self-esteem, and these things are important to me. But I realized I didn't have to talk about them in everything I do, and that sometimes, like for example, I had a capture page, which now I can't believe I spent Facebook money on, because and it was actually Abram, you pointed it out to me not long ago. It had a headline like "Become the Change," and then it was my message was how I overcame low self-esteem, started traveling the world, and something else. I can't even remember what it was. It was so vague, you know.
Yeah, I saw that capture page too, and then I told Abram about it.
Yeah. And so then I had a conversation with Abram, well, / Nikki then, and you said test it with a more money-driven message. And for a second I was like, I don't really want to do a money message. That's not really me. But what I realized in Portugal is that because they're very clear on their marketing, they talk about learn a new profession, learn how to work from the internet, how to make a sustainable income online, and they're very clear and upfront that this is making money on the internet so that you can go and do whatever you want. And I realized, well, I just have to speak more to that, because that's what people are looking for. Yeah. And yeah, people think it's nice not to have low self-esteem, and some people want to travel, but just to be more specific, because what most people are struggling with is just getting by, constantly worrying about money, never having enough, ever. And I realized I didn't have to speak about poverty and, you know, all this kind of bigger picture stuff in every single sentence, because it loses people and they can't connect to it. So the breakthrough I had was I had to connect more to people's actual pain, which I hadn't been doing as effectively before.
Right, and would you say, because it's really about your audience and your target audience, because it's like, if you were speaking that message and a bunch of people were signing up that were like, yes, be the change, because, I mean, that's an interesting thing to look at, and maybe it's a whole nother conversation, but would you say that it's like you thought your audience was a certain way and maybe they're actually another way?
Exactly. Yeah. I wanted them to be a certain way, and actually they're different. They're not like that, really. Because what I was looking for was people that understood that you can have money and use that to change the world. And I think there are a lot of people out there, but a lot of people aren't even at the point where, you know, if you've been struggling with money for so long, you just want to have money yourself, you know. It's nice to also change the world, but your pain is you can't pay your rent this month, or you might not have your cell phone next month because you can't afford the bill. You know, like it's literally what's going on right now.
On a massive scale, on a massive collective scale. And, you know, I won't take up, do a long story here, but I will just be able to speak to exactly what you're saying, Sandy, in the sense that I always had transformation and changing the world as the number one, as what I was leading with when it came to my own life and my own path, and that led me to a lot of brokenness. And I was also into, like, you know, I went to Japan to try to save the dolphins, you know, and I had, like, no money in my account, and I fundraised it. When I came back, my electricity was going to be shut off. And I was like, here I am on this mission to, like, save the dolphins, and I can't even take care of myself. And so there was a big disconnect. So I actually came into, you know, I mean, Abram and I started to make some money even before we got into Empower. But I know that we were like, gosh, you know, until you take care of yourself, like, you can't be changing the world. I mean, you not to say that you can't make a difference in people's lives, but it is limited, because in the back of your mind, you cannot be fully present with people until you take care of your basic needs. And I used to fight this ideology all the time. When I saw the hierarchy of needs, I was like, hell no, I'm going to skip that I'm going to skip there ain't no hierarchy that will define me. I'm going to, even in high school, I was like, I am skipping this motherfucker, and I'm going straight to the, you know, because I think it's like basic needs, survival, and then, I mean, the top is like, you know, the world change, and I'm like, I'm going straight there. And I tried that, and I will humbly say that I was mistaken, and it just, at least for me, like, I think unless you're meditating on the top of a mountain and you're a monk and you're the Dalai Lama, or you're going to play that role in society, which is that you're representing this, like, guru figure or, like, a spiritual teacher ideology, and people donate to that cause, but you're just, it's just fully surrendered to that. Like, it doesn't work. Being a mystic in a modern society, you have to create an income and take care of yourself, you know? So I'm just speaking to what you're saying. I'm like, you're preaching to the choir over here, and I'm curious though, because I think I don't want people to take it out of context, so I would love for you to just kind of elaborate, you know, are you then eliminating the self-esteem message and the change the world, or are you just going to change the emphasis and, like, flip-flop it?
The second one, exactly, the emphasis, because I realized also that my marketing was actually attracting quite a lot of people that don't actually want to have money. That, I mean, I even had some people join my team, and this is not a criticism of anyone who might watch this later and think I'm talking about you, because I've been that person as well. But I had people, you know, attracted to me because they wanted to change the world, but actually they weren't. I could tell by the way they were speaking to me and what they did. She was usually not a lot, that they didn't actually want to have money, and that they were so in a scarcity mindset that this was just too far from where, well, that can sound a bit strange, but it just wasn't a good fit, basically.
They weren't seeing the value of money. They might be that person that thinks they can, like, change the world and just bypass money altogether, which is where I was at some point in my life. So you might be attracting people more like, you know, where I used to be, or where you used to be, where you used to be with the anti-poverty campaigning, you know, where they're like, well, maybe making some money they're not even sure making money is okay yet. So
they might even be thinking about destroying the whole, you know, like, currency in itself. Oh, we don't need money. We should just eliminate it.
We should just do Bitcoin or something, you know, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, and one of the another shift I had in Portugal was they have this social action team, which I'd seen clips of, but they had a 3-hour section of the event was devoted to this. And it was, at first I thought, I have to be completely honest, I actually thought, this is going on for so long. Like, are we not going to do any of the strategy stuff? I was one of those people that thought that. And actually, it gave me one of the biggest transformations, because what this social action team does is they organize donating money to organizations for kids that are having trouble in Portugal and also now in Africa. And they actually showed a video of 4 of the leaders, all these well, the male leaders. They're actually in couples, but it was just the men that had gone. And one of them had been supporting an orphanage since 2008, well before he joined, before Empower was even created. And he'd been giving them money every month. And basically, because now he's become well known in the team, they had found out about it, and they created this mission where they went to the orphanage, made videos of what was going on, took pictures of all the orphans who were like from 2 weeks old to 17 years old. And at the event, they showed this video, and the grown men literally crying in the orphanage because of what they'd seen, and also not just crying because of how terrible it was. Like, it was more like they were just overcome with emotion that they could donate money to this orphanage, and by the work that it was doing, and by talking to the young people and how happy they were, even though they'd had, you know, what a lot of people would consider to be bad situations. And anyway, what happened in the event was that after they showed this video, they asked who would be willing here to come up on stage and to pledge a donation, an annual donation to the orphanage, and you can even pick, you know, to sponsor a child. And literally, there was about 600 people in the room. About almost 3/4 of the room got up and onto the stage, and it was just incredible. And the man who had been supporting the orphanage since 2008 was just crying like a baby, and he went down on the floor, and he just said, and then he told everyone, you know, I'm getting teary-eyed just remembering it. I've been supporting them since 2008. Some months I couldn't afford to send them any money, but sometimes I would send money. Whenever I could, I would. And to see all my brothers and sisters on the stage, this is more than I could ever ask God for. And just, he was overcome with gratitude, and it was just amazing. And you know, and I realized, wow, I don't have to talk about changing the world all the time, because I can help people have money, speak to what they can hear right now, and then once they're taking care of themselves, give them an option to use that money, you know, if they want, you know, and which is kind of what the Lazies do, and this team. And so it just kind of shifted things in my mind, and I realized, wow, people can't really hear what I think they can hear, so I need to speak to what they can hear now, and then talk about the other stuff. And it doesn't mean I won't ever speak about changing the world, because I'm a massive believer in that. But it's just what, like you said, Nikki, changing the emphasis.
Yeah,
that's huge.
It's so huge.
That whole thing is just huge.
Yeah.
People are gonna need to watch that again. There's like so many messages in between the words. Like, if you can really get that. Like, I mean, we've been hearing stuff like that, you know, ever since we really got into marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear it again and again and again and again, and it starts to sink in on like different levels, and you start to integrate more and more in different pieces of it. So I'm just really glad that you got to speak to that, Sandy, at least right here.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful, and it's kind of beyond words, but if I could put some words to it, it's like I just get the sense that, well, you know, it's not like people can't hear because they're not thoughtful, beautiful, big-hearted, considerate people and giving people. It's because of that piece, the survival, you know. And you know, the fact is, like, if your family isn't taken care of, you know, and you can't even use the bathroom whenever you need to, you know, there's so much energy there's so much thought that is occupied, and you know, it's how David Wood put it on a hangout one time. He's the founder of Empower Network. He's like, when you're in the desert and there's no water, all you can think about is water. When you're thirsty, all you can think about is water. And even if it's, let's say you went to the desert to meditate, but you're gonna die if you don't drink water. You know what I'm saying? Like, in the back of your mind, it's like, I hope I get water. I need water. I need water. And if you're not taking care of every interaction that you have, no matter how beautiful and sweet and kind and compassionate of a person you are, is going to be through that filter. And that is the major, maybe you could say, travesty of our system and kind of like how we've set up our society. And that's why I think what we're doing is so important, is because it is a way out of that matrix. This is like, it is this matrix that most of the world and everyone's running around. It's the rat race thing. And to have an opportunity to get out of that, where, you know, this is the thing, because there's other things out there that Abram and I were just talking about this today, that you know, the money looks good and there's other opportunities out there, and I'm never going to judge anybody, or it's not my place to say what opportunity is right for somebody. But I will say that I've never seen anything match like my core values as far as changing the world as I've seen with Empower Network, because you can get paid to be you, and you can get paid to find your inner voice and to monetize that voice. So I think it's important that you're saying, Sandy, that you're not giving up talking about self-esteem, that you're still going to be interweaving that somehow. It's your vision. But people almost have to know that that it's okay that they just want to make money and take care of themselves.
Exactly. Yeah, I realized that, like with that example of the being in the desert with no water, the way I was marketing, it was like I was coming along to that person who has no water in the desert and saying, okay, we need to make sure that everyone has water. Are you going to like come on and like take action with me? And like, and you're like, I can barely like take another step because I'm so thirsty, and someone's asking you to like go and like do a protest, you know.
That's I just realized a brilliant metaphor, right? That's take it.
You know, and I was like, okay, I just need to be realistic, like not realistic, like just be more aware of what's actually going on around me rather than what I would like to be going on around me, and see what is for what it is. And so that was just a really big breakthrough. And also the other practical thing that really helped me a lot was it kind of demystified the whole business a lot, because they actually have, it's very interesting from a marketing point of view, because the whole team basically uses the same marketing method, Facebook advertising, like literally the whole team. And they even had a training on it, like how not to be too reliant on one source, because they were aware that this is not, you know, it's actually not very safe to be only relying on one source of traffic. But what was interesting was how when someone is so sure that something will work if you do it, and then you transfer that to other people, and they actually have results of what you've showed with them to do, and then they transfer that to other people, and then they transfer it to other people. I literally saw the domino effect, because I met people who were, you know, 5 or 6 levels down in someone's downline, who were, and this is not to say that everyone on their team was having success, because, you know, I also met people that were like, yeah, my team got really active and then they all disappeared, and then, you know, it's not like this amazing paradise.
It's like rainbows and butterflies all around.
Yeah, exactly.
The that we all wish we were on, you know, that kind of thing.
Exactly. But what I saw, what they do though is just that there's, if you're willing to be consistent, to have your vision and to know that you can do it, then you can do it. And so the people like that in their team just go ahead and produce. And so, and this all came from the founder of the team, because he even said, you know, I had to believe in the beginning when I started this team that it was possible to make $1,000 a day. And it was possible to do that. And he said people laughed at him. And his surname means fortune in Portuguese.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And the team is called Lazy Millionaires. So there was actually a lot of people writing on the internet about how it was a scam and how it was like a get-rich-quick scheme and all this stuff. And what I just find so fascinating is that the message from the top of their team is make $1,000 a day, get 200 leads a day, and they've even shared this in Power Hangouts.
Wait,
I remember.
hold on a second. So I feel like I want to preface everything you're saying now with like, everybody listen up right now, because Sandy is delivering the goods, and you know, my question's like, what's the secret to the? I wanted to ask, you know, like, what's the secret to their duplication? Which I think you started.
Yeah.
It sounds like are they also? So it sounds like they're duplicating both online and offline, and maybe there's a synergy there that's special. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, like, yeah, how are they doing this? What's the core message? And if you have to repeat it, it's totally cool.
That's okay. Well, the simplest way I can explain it is this. The first thing is they have a really clear vision. Make your target $1,000 a day. Make sure you have enough leads, traffic, you know, people subscribing to your email lists every single day, and do whatever you need to do to achieve that. And they work really closely with people who are all in to make sure that they're getting the number of leads they need. And they say as a starting figure, get 200 leads a day. And that usually people will need about 100 leads to get one new member of cold traffic, of people they don't have any relationship with.
100 leads.
Yep.
So you should. That's so big, Sandy. That's so big, because I think we've had people on our team that have like 100 leads total over the course of a year. And they're like, why haven't I had signups yet? And they're like,
yeah,
no, I don't know if I want to keep going because nobody's signed up yet, you know, and it's like,
yeah,
at least 100 leads a day to get one sign up a day is what you're saying. And so the 200 leads a day is if you want 2 a day.
Yeah, exactly. And I think also because they noticed that some people it was more than 100 members to get one member if they were new, if they didn't have a story yet.
Right.
So they tell people get 200 leads a day, and they mainly use Facebook advertising to do that, but they've actually started doing a social media strategy. Like one of the leaders, this blew my mind. One of the leaders was realizing that it actually takes quite a lot of money for people to get those kinds of results with Facebook ads, unless you've been tweaking it and testing it for a while. And so he was like, well, what can I do for the people that come in and don't have any budget for advertising, just have enough money to get all in? And so he stopped all his campaigns and started testing just doing social syndication, like is taught in the 15K formula. And if you're not in our team and you want to be marketing on the internet, you need to join our team and get the 15K formula, because it's exactly what they're teaching their team to do. Yeah. And this was really interesting because you guys and a lot of our team's success has come from social media. They've only been doing this for 6 weeks. They've got 30 people on a test group. And they're doing a strategy where they take a piece of content and repurpose it for 4 days, putting it all over the internet. And they notice that they're getting way less leads, like 3 or 5, 1 or 2 leads in the beginning a day, 3 or 5 after a little while. But with that group, it's only taking about 35 members to get a sale, to get a new member joining.
35 leads to get a sale, not 35 members to get a sale.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
35 instead of 200 or 100.
Using social media syndication.
Yeah, exactly. So they're just trying that out at the moment.
Yeah.
So they work with people to help them get the number of leads. They tell them, okay, the other thing you need to do is do a daily email to your list, a daily broadcast, answer any questions that your leads have, and do a hangout for your team. And that's it. That's literally it. And what's the second thing, which I believe is why they're having so much duplication, is that they really have this approach that we are teaching you how to become an internet marketer. When you join Empower Network, you're learning how to become an internet marketer, and people won't speak to new members in their team until they're all in, until they have all the core products, if you don't know what all in means, which are basically like the textbooks for how to do internet marketing. And so what happens is when someone joins, some of them do speak to them, but they'll just say, hi, welcome, you need to go to this page and do all the steps, and then we'll talk again. And the steps take them through how to set up their business, and one of the steps is to be all in. And so there's a real energy in the team that if you're making this as a business, you're doing this as a franchise basically, then you need to have the products to be able to get the commissions, to be able to know what you're talking about, to have the education. And so everyone just gets all in. Like it's just amazing.
Yeah.
That's what you do when you want to be successful, yeah.
Yeah, they had this all-in meeting. It was almost the same as the main event because everyone was all in anyway. So, and it was just every single person I spoke to, they had this. I realized for me, for example, that I'm going to completely change my approach to how I speak with new people coming into my team, because I myself had money issues when I started, and I wasn't all in for 4 months. And I've kind of sat back a bit when people tell me I don't have the money. I don't push them.
Right.
And what I realized from watching this team, from speaking to as many people as I could, and they were really kind. I was sat right at the front. I was speaking to all the leaders. I was introduced to everyone. So I really got an inside view into everything. They really took care of me. So if any of the Portuguese ever watch this,
Silvio, I don't know if I told you, but I wrote Silvio about you, and then he's so cute, man. Like he's just like, I'm going to take care of your girl and protect her.
Oh,
so adorable,
Yeah. Well, they really did, and one of the things that this actually happened before the event. It was actually coming home from Charlotte, the last Empower event, the national event. I had gone up to the Portuguese and said, I'm coming to Portugal soon. I'd love to learn from you. And so I met a few of them. And when I flew home, I was sat on the plane, and there was no space above my seat for my bag. So I had to go down the plane and find a space to ram it in. And I did that. And as I was putting it in, I heard this voice say, Sandy. And I looked down, and there was one of the Portuguese ladies. And so we said, oh, hi. And she waited for me at the end of the flight. We walked together out of the plane rather, sorry. And we were chatting, and she was like, she was asking me how I'd been doing with the business. And then she showed me her sponsors who were just ahead of us in the terminal. And she told me they were making $30,000 a month, which is $1,000 a day. And then she said, oh, and their sponsors are over there. And I was like, oh, how much are they making? And she's like, oh, they're making about 40, I think, 50,000 a month. And it's true. Like I was kind of at the time, I was like, yeah, maybe that was 1 month. But I actually spoke to them. I met them. And so the thing about the vision is, this is something I really wanted to speak to, is when people collectively are really strong about what's possible, it just kind of filters through, like that domino effect I said before. And I just thought, oh my God, this is amazing. Silvio talks about $1,000 a day, make that your target to hit 30,000. And he was really obsessed with that when he started. He went to his sponsor, Aaron Rashkin, who talked a lot about you guys when I saw him in Portugal, by the way.
We'll have to put the insights on that after this hangout is over, Sandy.
That's so funny. Yeah, like Sylvia had said to Aaron, how do I make 30,000 a month? And that was his big thing. And it's so interesting to me how he was focused on that. So then his team took that same energy, and now they're creating it, Mm-hmm. And some of the, there were so many young couples. This also blew my mind, couples like my age, couples younger, that just wearing Converse trainers and leggings and just just really relaxed and just going on the stage and collecting these huge checks. And and so many different ages, There was another lady who doesn't even speak English, and some of the others could actually speak a few words, but one of them, she had a check for $136,000, and she couldn't even speak English to me. And I just really thought to myself, okay, way more is possible than I thought.
Did it just sort of also remove a lot of, which is interesting to even, I was going to ask, did it remove a lot of like your excuses? And I even been asking now with us having the conversation of the airplanes flying overhead, if maybe, could it be that we also create excuses sometimes that are not really ours to begin with?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I found even today I've caught myself wondering, well, maybe they're having success because they're in Portugal and they're targeting a really specific market. And I had to stop myself and say, oh my goodness, that's an excuse. Because they could have said, well, we can't have success because we're in Portugal and we don't have a big market, you know. But they didn't say that. They just focused on what they wanted.
Or even because they couldn't speak English. And I know in the beginning they created a momentum even when there wasn't really translation on the products. And then, in fact, I've heard that they've helped to translate. They actually had, like, I think Silvio hired somebody to translate a bunch of the stuff in the beginning, and then like Empower kind of implemented subtitles at some point. But like they started making money even when they weren't speaking English somehow.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think that really is amazing because it does invalidate our excuses. And I can see also people going, well, they're having more success because they've got the online and the offline support, and they have this amazing culture where it's like family. And in America, it's not like that. So what would you say to that? Because, and hey, let's be real. I mean, like we're creating something in Colorado here, but a lot of those people are not even in our downlines. Like we're willing to just kind of help people that no matter where they are in the company. And but like, how would you say is it possible to create that kind of duplication just through these online hangouts and stuff? Because we may not be meeting right now, you know, in Portugal. Although I'm like, okay, one thing I know for sure is I'm coming to Portugal.
Yes.
To experience this, so that's going to happen. But yeah, like, what would you say to people who are like, well, I don't even want to create it. I have a vision, but I don't even want to create an offline community at the same time. Can they have the same energy?
Yeah, it's funny you should say that, Nikki, because when I was talking to this lady coming home from Charlotte, I asked her how she had joined her team, because I assumed that it was a lot of it was offline as well. And she told me it was through an ad on Facebook for an ebook. And actually, they don't meet that much in person. It's a lot more online than I actually thought before going to this event. And I really spoke to a lot of people, got as much information as I could. And they do this one day a month in around Portugal. They do meet they call it a day in the office. But it's not actually, I would say it's, from what I understood, it's not like a big driver of where they're getting the new members from or how they're building the business. They do hangouts, a lot of hangouts, and they have different teams. Like they have Skype groups for the whole team. Like and it's actually really interesting because they don't have tons of little teams. It's just one big team. One big team. Even if a sponsor has like, 70 people, well, actually way more than that. Like some of them have like 400 people in their downline. They're still part of the Lazy's team. So they have this, and they have hangouts which go across the whole team, and then leaders work with their all-ins on more of an individual basis. But for example, they have a hangout every week for people who are up to the 15K level, and they'll get different leaders to come and talk about what they're specializing in or what they're good at. And then these Skype groups where people can ask questions, and anyone in the whole team, not just your downline or your upline, will answer you. So a lot of, from what I could tell, a lot of the culture is actually being created online. And I actually asked them about this, and it made me cry when they responded. It was really embarrassing, and then Sylvia ended up crying. It was it all got rather emotional because I asked him, how could I, like, what would you recommend to someone who wants to create something like this but isn't in Portugal? And he said, well, it has to start with your vision, and he said as well, like, you need to find ways for people to have fun together. So I guess that does come to the offline stuff. Like they they find ways for people to do stuff outside of the training, outside of the business.
Right, right. Like going to the beach, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's why they do that day at their events. They always have a day where people do something that's not up in front of a stage or a computer. And the social aspect apparently also is one of the other leaders answered my question about it, and he said he thinks that's a part of it too. And that was one of the reasons why they started it, because they wanted things that could bond people together beyond just the mechanics of the business.
So people maybe perhaps they fly in for when they do an in-person event. Like I've heard of people coming from Brazil to Portugal.
Yeah.
That, right? And obviously Aaron flew in from Colorado to be there, so
yeah, exactly.
So if you create something with enough momentum, people will come
big, yeah.
and join you in person. So
yeah.
What made you cry about that? What did he say that made you cry?
I honestly, it wasn't even a conscious thing. It was almost like it just hit this nerve because I was so moved by what I'd seen the whole weekend.
Yeah.
And I didn't expect to cry. I just asked, and it was actually the last moment of the whole event because they had this Q&A for everyone who was all in, and I asked him that question, and then he just, I think it was just almost this. I don't necessarily love to be around people 24/7. I quite like my own time a lot, but I do like working as part of a team, or like I've worked on my own. I just don't enjoy it as much. And just seeing the way that the culture they have, a lot of them said, this is like being in a family, because you can ask someone, and it doesn't matter if if you're in their team or not. If you're in the lazies, they will help you. And I spoke to people who directly experienced that. Other leaders saying to them, do you want to just talk for 10 minutes about your Facebook ads or something like that? And I don't know, it just hit this nerve, and I just started to, this emotion came out. And I just was so inspired by it that it just made me, when you just see a truth, or like something that's really special, I just get teary-eyed really easily.
I get it, and it almost feels like he gave you, like you got downloaded with that you can do it too.
Exactly. That was one of the things he said. He was like, and then he started to cry because he said, you have to create your environment and be happy in it. Yeah. And you have to dance. That means you have to dance naked on the beach alone. That's what you have to do. And he's like, and then you'll find someone who wants to dance naked on the beach with you too. And then you'll have to
love it. So and then how much more important is it, do you think, after experiencing this, to, what would you say about Orlando and people going to Orlando, whether or not to go?
Oh my goodness. I would say, there's just no doubt in my mind, you have to be there. Mm-hmm. Because you can get a lot of transformation from all the online stuff, from watching Hangouts like this, from the trainings, from the Empower Hour. But the live events they can touch your soul in a way that you can't even imagine. And that's what happened to me this weekend. I've had other massive shifts at the national events, at every single event actually. And it's like it comes back to the thing of where two or more are gathered. When you're physically in a room with people, like there was one moment, it was just so incredible. I have to share this before we finish. They were talking about setting your targets, and one of the big leaders who's completely new to all of this, by the way. When I say big leader, sometimes we think they've been doing network marketing for like decades or something, but this guy was a DJ. He owned nightclubs, and he started Empower a year ago, had his first month, created $15,000. And then just never sort of stopped. So now he does Facebook ads. But anyway, he was talking about setting a game plan session with your new members and asking them what their target was. And then he pulled out one of his members and said, tell everyone what your target is. And so it was actually a Spanish guy who's 6 figures now with his girlfriend, has only been doing Empower for 6 months. And he said, well, one of my targets is to buy a Ferrari Swift. I can't even remember which Ferrari it was. And he asked him, okay, so how much is that Ferrari? And he said, oh, 220,000 euros.
Mm.
So Mario, the speaker, was like, okay, when are you going to get it by? And Pedro, the Spanish guy, is like, by the 15th of December, 2015. And Mario looked at him and was like, hang on a minute. When we made our session, you told me it would be 2014. Why have you changed the date? Why are you making it a year later? And Pedro just looked really embarrassed and was like, and he's like, you don't believe you can do it, do you? And he's like, how much are you making every month? And how much did you make last month? And he said, oh, $21,000. And then Mario, the speaker, says, okay, you, and he pointed to a guy literally sat on the same row, 5 seats away. I don't even know who this other guy is, because there were so many people having success. And he said, how much did you make last month? And he responded, $120,000. It's just so mind-blowing. And he's like, do you see, Pedro, how you can do this? If you just stretch, if you work hard, you can do this before the end of this year.
Wow.
And, and I've kind of gone off on a tangent there, but basically, you can't experience that if you're just sat at home or reading a PDF or reading a book. Those things are like the bricks that you build your house with to change your life. But going to an event is like, it's like someone comes in and just like paints the whole inside of the house completely differently and like washes out every single cobweb, makes it all beautiful and sparkling. And so then you can keep putting in the other stuff into the house. But, the Orlando will be the same. It will create some kind of soul transformation that it literally costs you money if you don't go.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And another sort of picture I got when you were saying that is for me it's like also getting a knock on your door and it's like, hello Miss Magdalena, we're here to completely transform your house while you're away and in the luxurious way that you want, and we're here to whisk you away on the most luxurious private jet where you're going to meet the most incredible people of your life, and have amazing transformations.
Yeah.
That's kind of what the event is like for me, is like it is transporting yourself to a different environment and then at the same time having your house transformed,
Yeah. So in summary, Sandy, because I think
Wrap it up.
it went pretty fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is that formula again? Because I really liked how simple it was in what they're teaching, and actually we actually teach a lot of the same things, but not I think as scientific as you put it. Like there's numbers attached, right?
There's numbers attached.
Like we have our own strategies. Like we've done everything that we've done on like free Facebook social media, and so when you said that now they're teaching a little bit of that stuff too, and they're realizing that it doesn't take as many leads and as much traffic to get their results. That's true, because like we've been able to do crazy things like 1 out of 8 people,
right,
purchasing our products and stuff. So if you could run through that formula again, so people can start like setting those targets that really allow them to then. There's a lot of people here right now that are like just getting started too.
Right, that's the thing.
So they need to hear this again, and then I have something that I want to add to it that I think would be really powerful.
And really quick too, I would keep the formula to that newbie or that person that's been around and maybe they've had the transformation now. They've thrown away the doubt and they're like, every day is because here's the thing. I know you've had moments where you're like, yes, I've had this opening, and then sometimes we get pulled back in, and I think it's important to like just ride the wave. Now there's this new energy, new wave, and anybody here can take advantage of this wave that Sandy's bringing to us now. So, but as far as like the team building stuff and all that, I think that's some of the stuff you mentioned maybe a little bit more advanced. So for the person that's a newbie or struggling, what's the formula?
10K.
10K
in 90 days.
Okay, here we go. First of all, you need to look at your budget for advertising, because it will depend a lot on this. If you ideally you have some money to put towards it, because you don't actually need to have huge budgets. Like they talked about, instead of putting a lot of money into one advertising campaign on Facebook, having loads of campaigns with really tiny budgets so that you can see which ones work best. So let's say that you have a budget for advertising. You need to do what you can. You need to be all in, first of all, and then do what you can to get 200 leads a day, or as many leads as it takes to get a new member.
Right.
And when I say, I don't even like to say get a new member because it sounds like you're kind of grabbing someone and then like pulling them in. Like for someone to say, yes, this is what I need, I'm going to join, and to become clear about how many people you need, because it might be less. You know, for some people it was 200, for other people it's 42.
Yeah.
So it can really, even with paid advertising. So but they set 200 as a basic figure for new people. That's their target they give them, and everyone talks about it. It's like this. You know, what I'm speaking to here is a central. You have success.
For what?
Everyone
Repeat that because you cut out, Sandy. What you're talking about is say that again.
A central plank. You know, like a plank of wood. Is a really important piece of how they create success and duplication, like how they have new people coming in and making 6 figures within 6 months. This is how they're doing it. They tell them, get 200 leads a day. The second thing, send these leads a daily broadcast and email it every day, maybe even send 2. And there's training in the 15K formula which will help you with that.
What training is that? Do you know, Sandy?
Yeah, it's modules, especially module 9 by Aaron Rashkin. This is where they learnt it from. Like, from a lot of what they do is actually directly from that module, because Aaron is their upline, and he taught it to Sylvia, who's taught it to the team. And so the third thing is answer any questions that your leads have. That could be through emails, through social media. And then the fourth thing, once you start to have people coming in, is do a hangout for your team. Yeah. Or plug them into the bigger team hangouts. But here's the big thing that I got from what they were saying is that if you don't have, sometimes, like, and you said this earlier, Nikki, sometimes if you're new and you haven't got any new members yet, it can be hard to imagine that you will have new members. They can seem like this elusive creature that will never come. But when it's so scientific, like they had this breakdown where, you know, usually about 200 leads before someone says, yes, I want to do this. And then they even work out, okay, how many, out of those people that join, how many of them usually go all in? And so one of the leaders, for him, it was 1 in 5 people. So he literally broke it down for us. Like, if he wants to make 30,000 a month, he was like, I need to have this many leads and I need to have this many members to make this many all-in sales.
Yep.
And they really see it really crystal clear. So if you're doing paid advertising, those would be the things I would focus on if you're new. And if you don't have any budget, then I would do the social media strategy, and which is in the 15K as well. Like, that's like a lot of the modules. And then just pay attention to how many subscribers to your email list it takes for you to recruit a new member, and know that you will recruit someone. The way they spoke about it just removed a lot of the doubt and the mystery about, oh, will I have someone join? Because they were just so scientific about it.
Yeah.
And to create some kind of budget for paid advertising, and something ninja, which kind of I won't go into very much now, but I loved it because Avram, you did a training on this, like, I think 2 weeks ago. They retarget the people that come to the blog from all the social syndication they're doing.
Yeah, that's what we've
never done before. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's the same things. Email them daily, your leads, even if they're not as many as through the paid advertising. Email them daily, answer their questions, do a hangout for the ones that join, or plug them in, and make sure they go all in.
When you say answer their questions, what does that look like? Is that one-on-one or a group? Can you be clear on that? Because I think we don't want people to think they have to, like, super handhold their new people.
Oh yeah, and answer the questions is actually for leads. It's for before they've joined, because what they do, which is interesting, for new members, there's a Skype group for they call it like platoon. Anyone who's new goes into this Skype group, and it's just for people that haven't got any of the products yet. So when they say answer questions, that's more like if people email you after you send them a broadcast and they say, what is this? How does it work? And they send them the FAQ page. They use that a lot. Or if people on Facebook contact you and say, I saw your ad, what is this? It's more like just checking that you're actually connecting with people.
So it's checking. It's not that you're offering a Q&A on a daily basis. It's that you're checking in every day to your email list and your Facebook to see if you have questions, and then answering those questions with an FAQ.
Yeah, exactly.
Which we have. We actually have an FAQ
on this website.
On this website,
yeah,
.com/FAQ. You're just going to want to make sure you put your user ID at the end so it tracks.
Yeah.
But you have that available as a resource as well.
Yeah.
Really cool. Yeah, I mean, there's people that like they just have like one question that they need answered, and they just want to feel heard sometimes, and that's all that it really is. And you answer that question, they're like, oh, okay, cool, yeah. Now I know that you're a real person. You responded to my question, and I'm ready to get started. And that's kind of how it goes, you know. So that's cool. I mean, that's easy. That's easy, right? It's like get leads, get your stuff in front of people that want to know what you have, right? Enough people see it, they'll say yes, right? Look at getting your new members. Set a target, $30,000 a month, $1,000 a day, or $10,000 a month, which is like $287 a day, right? They have a firm target and a vision. They get all in because they know that they need the textbooks, right? The textbooks, like that's what the training is. To learn the strategies, like you mentioned, like module number 9, the 15K formula, teaching you about the email broadcasts. So very, very simple. I would say that we have a lot of the same message. Like we've lived this 10K in 90 days. I think we hit our first 12K month, so we just skipped past 10 out of 12 within like a little bit over 2 months when we first got started with Empower. We were doing that exact same thing, right? We got in, we got all in as soon as we could because we knew that we needed the training to do it. We also needed to be able to know what was in it so that we could sell it to people. Like we went through it and we got so excited about what's in there because we knew it would help transform people's lives if they actually opened the textbooks and started using the stuff, right? And then like the final thing, we started touching on this a lot, and it's like if you're not getting this, I'm saying it again because you need to get this. The immersion factor of being a part of an event is what will shift like that belief level. It will sweep away all the doubts that you've been having, and it's a lot of times it's that belief or that new confidence that you have inside your business. It's like that conviction that you now have that transforms every bit of marketing that you've put out there, and that's really what people will respond to when it comes to like joining you in your business, right? It's like that's why I can get on a hangout with you guys and say like I have without a shadow of a doubt, I know that when you click the button below and you become a part of our business, you're really opening a new doorway to the rest of your life in terms of creating a new financial abundance and financial freedom. Like that's a possibility for you. It's not a guarantee, it's a possibility. I just know that if you get your hands on the textbooks, the training, it is possible for you, right? Where it may not have been possible before. Like you notice that when I say that, like there's a conviction to it, there's a belief. It's because I'm always getting on these hangouts with you guys, and we're always getting to the events, and we're always surrounding ourselves with people that not only do they believe that it works, but because of their belief that it works, they make it work. It's like the big differentiating factor, right? So get to Orlando. If you're already in our team, get to Orlando. Come hang out with us, right? If you absolutely cannot come, you can also get a live stream ticket. That's better than nothing. I think we have a link under here to get your live stream ticket. I don't know how long they're going to offer that because they really want people that are there at the event. And they're going to be unraveling like the new blog and some cool stuff that's there only for people that are there. And it's really just an opportunity to see what's possible for you and see yourself really creating all of that. What we did is we did all that stuff and we went and we did our best to bring teammates with us, new people that were just getting started to go to that event. And that's what created our next big breakthrough, right? So it doesn't matter like if you're just getting started. Get started, get all in, use the textbooks, get as many leads as you can, and bring somebody with you to the event. right? Bring somebody with you to the event, because then they get the conviction too.
Or come early, because we're gonna go have fun. I know, Sandy, you're coming with us. We're gonna go. We don't know which. I mean, because you don't need like advanced tickets to Disney World.
You can buy that day.
You know, it's not like you get like half off or something like that. And even then, it's like more fun to be spontaneous. So we're gonna go to either Universal. Well, I know we're probably gonna go to the Harry Potter Wizard Land.
Yay!
You can join us in that. And if it's hot, like if it's gonna be like a hot day, we might do one of the water parks and maybe one of the Disney Worlds. And there's actually like, you know, because we're leaders in Empower Network, we're talking to other leaders. So we have a bunch of people that are like, yeah, we're coming early. You guys want to go to Disney World? Let's go to, you know, so maybe it's going to be Lawrence Tam, maybe it's going to be Paul Hutchings, maybe, you know, yeah, I'm dropping names because I want you guys to know that I'm not just like talking shit. Like I'm just saying that that's another immersion possibility. If you can come early, like we're going to arrive late Tuesday night, so we're going to be there Wednesday, Thursday, and Thursday I think we're gonna have open for the team to come and play with us. This is going to be an in the flow experience. I'm not guaranteeing, like I'm not going to, a lot of times at these events we like do this thing where we're like, we're all going to have dinner or lunch at this place and we make the reservation. It's going to be more free form and free flowing. So if you know you're going to go, then get in touch with us, let us know, and you know, make sure that you're in the know as far as what's going on. And I think it's going to be a more intimate group. So I think it's a unique opportunity to come and like spend time with people who are rocking their business and making a lot of money. And I know that's how I've had a lot of my transformations, is that lunch with Lawrence Tam, you know, and you know, just hanging out with people and seeing that I mean, yes, we're all unique, and yet there is a common thread, and it's like, wow, they're not like this person somewhere out there. They're here, and they're real, and they're normal like me, and they're weird like me. You know what I mean? Like we're not that different. So it helps you to like let go of that separation you might be creating with your success, is just to hang out with people that are doing great things. So
it's also one of those funny things that like if you don't go, you do literally miss out. Like you can't be there for those experiences. They can never be recreated the same way ever again. And so I just really hope that, you know, you see that this is your chance to have that experience, right? And have some of the transformation that Sandy's talked about tonight that you can see just like glowing in her face. So that being said, you know, appreciate you for watching this hangout. Sandy, thank you for staying up so late. You know, at 2:30, 3:30 in the morning there in Portugal, just being here to deliver this to people, because I think there's at least a few people that have these light bulb moments. We want to hear about them in the comments below. Like if you had that light bulb moment tonight, share it with us in the comments. You know, and we look forward to seeing everybody in Orlando, and look forward to seeing you guys next week. We're gonna have another hangout next week. Yeah. Maybe different guests, different topic, who knows? But come back for that, and get plugged in with us if you're not already. Get all in, get to Orlando, and we're just pumped up and excited to see you guys shine. So thanks.
Yay.
Have a good night, everybody.
All right. Good night. Bye.
Thanks, Sandy.
You're welcome.